Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Yuryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the divine being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the divine being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto thee, unto us, and to all your beloved children everywhere. Oh, dearly beloved, make it so. Hari Om Tat Sat. So good morning and welcome to our Sunday morning talk. This morning there will be so much talk around the world about the devotional relationship between the Holy Family and the individual spiritual aspirant and congregations of aspirants. So I thought it would be interesting to look into instead the non-dual spiritual path that is inherent in Christianity. So Cindy's going to read a little bit for us, and then I'll take it from there.
Okay. On Sunday morning, we will discuss Christianity as a non-dual spiritual path. Like other great teachers, Jesus taught at three levels according to his audience's ability to hear him: dualistic, qualified non-dualistic, and non-dualistic. To his close disciples, he said, I and my Father are one, or one in spirit. And ye therefore shall be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Perfect is also translated as complete. This morning, we will explore the non-dual teachings of Christ. There will be an emphasis on how saints and mystics of the Christian tradition experienced those teachings and realized that they, like Christ, were one with God the Father.
Thank you, Cindy. One with God the Father. Now that is a very elevated spiritual relationship indeed, and one that we need to consider whether we really want to have a non-dual spiritual path, which has been remarked on any number of times. It's a very demanding spiritual path because it resists the idea of entanglement with the phenomenal realm, the phenomenal world. The mantra, so to speak, of the Christian as well as the Hindu, they'll say it differently, but the mantra basically is not this, not that. This does not meet the test of being eternal, changeless, and infinite. If it doesn't meet that test, then I must not entangle myself with it. In the Christian tradition, this is known as the via negativa, the life or way of life, a negative way of life. So before we go on, is there any concern or question or anything you'd like to offer from your own wisdom or experience about any of these things that have been read or said? please share if there's something for you to say, because that's what we're about, studying spirituality together.
Brother Shankara, whenever right time comes, I would like to understand the meaning of Trinity in Christianity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Whenever is the right time, can you please explain that?
Yes, I'll be happy to tackle that. If we think about the Hindu Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, we understand that these are all three the mind-born children of Mother Durga to accomplish her purposes. Well, it's absolutely the same with the Christian Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Father is the unknowable, their equivalent for Brahman. You can't say anything. You can't actually spell the word God. It's G apostrophe, not apostrophe, G dash D. Or you say Yahweh. But that isn't a name, it's just a gesture. So that's the Father. The Son is that which arises. The Son and the Holy Spirit are that which arises to accomplish the purposes of the Father, Mother. Because within the Christian tradition, the Greek word is Sophia, the Hebrew word is Shekinah. It means the keeper of the wisdom, keeper and dispenser of the wisdom. And so we have these three apparently separate beings, but in fact they are just one being given three names for the purposes of understanding them intellectually. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's a pregnant question that needs to be addressed right away as we move in, because this non-duality of Christ's teaching, the non-duality is expressed, I and my Father are one. There can be no question about what that means. It means there is no duality between them. But then he also says, in a qualified monistic way, I am the vine and ye are the branches. The branches are what grow from the vine, but they're not separate from the vine in any way. And the vine itself is rooted in this Father-Mother being, Yahweh Shekinah. So there we have the qualified monistic way of teaching, which Christ used for those who could hear him at that level. But for most of his disciples, and that's why we said we'd hear mostly this from the Christian community this morning and tomorrow, there is, you are my disciples and my friends, you are my followers. Ye have not chosen me, I have chosen you. And so follow me, and I will lead you to salvation, which is the Christian term for immortality, beyond death. So once again, anything, before we move on, anything at all from anyone about what's been said or read?
I've been thinking about these different levels that the teachers teach at. And I understand why. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I certainly can.
Okay. I understand why there are the different levels, because it's just different levels of understanding.
Mhm.
Because, for instance, what we're talking about today, non-dual Christianity, and on the non-dual level, Christ saying, I and my Father are one, and the Father or Mother God is representative of the one thing from
Mhm.
which all other things, apparent things, arise.
Right.
And all the other things that arise are transitory forms of that one thing, which is kind of amazing and wonderful.
Yep.
But the only thing that really exists is that one.
Mhm.
And again, back to, I understand why there are the different levels, but they seem so different. The understanding of them, it's like to understand the dualistic version, to understand that and to take that as the highest truth and to live your life according to that is very different than if you take the non-dual or
Oh,
the qualified, and it's I don't even know what my question is, but there still is a question. It's like, why settle for lower truth? And yet the highest truth is not something we can live moment to moment, because we live as if these transitory forms of that one are real.
This is why Christ said, "You've not chosen me, I have chosen you. I have chosen you to be my follower or disciple." And so you naturally, because you are a chosen one, there's a great contentment that I will follow along and do what I am told to the best of my ability. And there will be fulfillment, and in Christian terms, salvation. That's all I really want. So to think that it will be easy or necessarily something that comes naturally from day to day, not so. All of these relationships have to be worked at. This is why Sri Ramakrishna said there are these different attitudes. He called them bhavas. The Shanta Bhava, in which you just simply say, I am content to be a chosen one, and the Lord Mother will do with me as she will. This is the Shanta, or calm Bhava. Then there's the more common one that Sri Ramakrishna recommended so highly, and that is the Dasya Bhava, the attitude of a servant toward the master. He characterized this as the relationship between, at their most fundamental level, between Hanuman and Rama. And so it gave great power to Hanuman to serve in that way. And so there are other child, parent, and even paramour relationships, these bhavas. But the only one that is truly non-dual is this child one. I am a child of the one. I am one with the loins of that one. I and my father or mother are one. Is that clarified at all, Cindy?
It expands it out. Yes, it gives it more context, which again takes us away from the from the non-dual. And not that I want to be taken away completely from the dual. I'm okay with that.
Me too.
I'm okay with all of it being true.
Well, if we're not content with all of it being true, where are we standing? How can we say that we know more than the great teachers and saints about what's true and not true? These are would be just opinions on our part. It is not wrong to have opinions, but we may be mistook. It may be simply our opinion is rooted in our primordial ignorance and will ultimately lead to disappointment. So this is why I said in the very beginning, we have to look at this non-dual relationship with the divine, this way of being, non-dual, and say, is this for me? Because to live without entanglements, it doesn't mean you're indifferent to the world. It simply means that you are not willing to let your compassion for the world persuade you into emotional and personal relationships with other human beings. This is why most non-dual practitioners are hermits or monks or nuns. They don't live in the world, they live apart from the world, so that they do not expose themselves. They don't get asked to dinner parties. They don't participate in Christmas rituals. They don't give gifts or receive them. It's a very tall order way to live.
But can I say that you can practice moving in that direction without living it 100%, because again, we are transitory forms of the one, so we're always going to be in flux as a human being.
Absolutely, you're colossally right. If we think that we choose the way we are to be, we're already on shaky ground. We have not chosen me. I have not chosen you. You have chosen me. So we are always in flux, having been chosen to pursue a path that must naturally change because it is embedded, rooted in the infinite, the changeless, the eternal. What is rooted in that? The one as we know it is Brahman or Atman, Nirguna Atman, Nirguna Brahman. There is no one, that is totally one without a second. Now, is there a second? Well, it appears to us in the world of phenomena that there is. It appears that there is Saguna Brahman, Saguna Atma. Sri Ramakrishna characterized it as water still, Nirguna Brahman or Nirguna Atman, and water in waves, Saguna Brahman, Saguna Atma. That means that there is something going on in the way of vibration, which is, of course, what we're told right from the earliest teachings of Vasishta through the teachings of Don Lincoln of Fermilab, that this incredible stardust spacesuit that is our dwelling place has this absolutely overwhelmingly awesome capability to turn what is nothing more than vibration at various kinds, at various levels, sound vibration, visual vibration, the vibration that touches our skin, our tongues, our noses. It stimulates all our senses. So all of those are vibrations. And see, we take those vibrations and transform them through the actions of what is apparently our volition, our will, into what we see, hear, smell, touch, taste. Now, does that mean anything is actually going on? According to the extreme non-dualist, no. It's a dream. It's Brahman's dream, therefore it's compelling. But it's no more than a dream. And Vivekananda was very emphatic about this. He said, no one can tell me that this is not a dream, this waking state. And it gets, if you delve into that and let your heart and mind rest on that, it gets kind of spooky. Because what it means is we're dreaming a dream that is just as incoherent and non-consequential as the dreams we dream when we're asleep. So it makes it then more attractive to return to the neti-neti, non-dual posture. Anything else?
Om Shankara ji.
Hari Om Bala.
In the hot seat.
Yes.
It reminds me about the chapter in Bhagavad Gita, because it also, that is the 15th chapter, Purushottama Yoga. It also says the same levels: Avatara, Ishvara, and Brahman. It brings all the same three levels. And this is, as Cindy was saying, it is difficult to be as a non-dualist, but this is a path. You start with your avatara and then go forward with the Ishvara, and this becomes easier for you to come to the, it's only a, understanding in the mind. The Brahman, we cannot visualize it. So that is why Vivekananda said, if you stay in the mountains, you lost the way. But if you become a worldly person, you lost the way. So what is the way? The way is to look, everybody is nothing but God. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that is the non-dual position.
Yes.
is nothing but God. No thing. There is no thing. Neti neti. There is no thing except God. But it's so hard for us to accept this exception because it doesn't seem to be our moment-to-moment, day-to-day experience. We seem to experience what we're experiencing right now. So many individuals have come to this gathering on a Sunday, and here we are talking with one another about these various things, and this seems to be a truth. Well, according to Adi Shankaracharya, it is indeed a truth, but it's a relative truth. It's not an eternal, infinite truth. It is a finite, changing truth. And so it's a superimposition on the ultimate truth. And that being the case, we don't take it all that seriously. But there is a trap in that. If we don't take it seriously, we risk not handling it well. And so our lives go askew. This is why spiritual practice, daily spiritual practice, is the only thing that keeps us centered enough to retain our clarity about what is true and what is not true. And the more we practice, the more we become aware of the Nirguna Atman and the silence from which that Nirguna Atman seems to speak. It doesn't say things in words. As Meister Eckhart says, the language of God is silence. All else is a poor translation. We discover this when we settle down below the level of our thoughts and sensations and become very aware. Our awareness becomes married to the consciousness that is the Atman. So when our awareness and that Atman are one, that is non-duality. Anything else from anyone? All right, let's strike off in another direction. What if, having come however far I've come, practicing however I've practiced, I decide to strike off in the direction of non-duality, and I begin to practice neti neti. What does this mean in terms of the life I will lead? It will mean that we will have less social interaction. It means that we won't likely go to restaurants. It means that we won't likely spend time at any kind of gathering that would be characterized as a party. Because why? Why would we want to spend our time in that way? So then we begin to place the limitations of neti neti on ourselves. Now, in fact, we are unlimited beings. But to make spiritual progress for a time, it appears to be required that we place limitations on ourselves. so that we are not, as the song says, helter-skelter. If we don't want to be helter-skelter, we have to be centered. To be centered, we have to know where that center is and what it bespeaks in terms of how we will think, speak, and act. As Sri Ramakrishna says, I am the instrument. Mother is the operator. I am her child. She is the mother. So I think as she bids me think. I speak as she bids me speak. And I act as she bids me act. I am the machine. She is the operator. Now, if we are living that way, we're living in a non-dual relationship with the mother. Is that clear to everyone? That's a very important point, that this relationship with the mother, if recognized properly, is a, without qualification, non-dual relationship. I and my mother are one. Anything there that needs comment, concern, question?
It seems to be a little novel, that idea, is it? Or is it just, I'm hearing it for the first time? The I and my mother are one, as being non-dual.
Well, we can have a non-dual relationship with the mother. We can have a playful, childlike relationship with the mother. At one time,
you're talking about something. Does this relate at all to what Hanuman said to Rama?
mm-hmm.
Is that the sort of thing, those different relationships he described?
The three.
Oh, okay.
He says, Rama says, how do you think of me? And Hanuman says, when I am in my ordinary frame of consciousness, when I'm just I'm doing my everyday work, I am the servant and you are the master. If I rise to the level of meditation, I see that I am a part and you are the whole. Now this is a kind of savikalpa samadhi in which you actually witness the divine person, Rama being everything, and yourself being somehow a part of that. But then he said, in the third instance, when I rise to the highest level of my understanding or my grasp of these things, I see that you are me and I am you. So this is the same thing that was being spoken of with regard to the mother. You can have all of those three relationships with the mother, and you are using her power to accomplish everything that you accomplish in all three of those instances. I get it. Cindy, did that make sense?
Don't worry.
Well, if this was easy, everyone would do it. So we're not pretending that any of this is, that there's simplicity. There's simplicity conceptual, but it's not easy. Over and over this has been said. So we just ask for the divine person. Oh, O Lord, take my hand. Without thee I may fall. O Lord, pull me on. Without thee I may stray. O Lord, draw me near. Seat me by thy fire. Thou art my all in all. Without thee I may fall. O Lord, fill this heart. O Lord, fill this heart. Thou art my all in all. Without thee I may fall. Now, when you are in that state of the divine being filling your heart, there's no room for anything else. So that is the non-dual relationship. But you'll notice that you move toward it. Take my hand, pull me on, draw me near, seat me by thy fire. Then we are able to say, fill this heart, and mean it. Mean it in the sense that there is no room for anything else.
But Brother Shankara, when I'm saying hold my hand, then again duality is coming, is not it? That means I'm a separate entity and my God is a separate entity. I'm asking him to hold my hand. So again, the duality is coming in there. That's a conflict.
Oh yes, it starts as a dualistic idea.
Yes.
But the Sri Ramakrishna is very explicit. If you hold your parents' hand, you may let go and fall. If you extend your hand and say, you hold my hand, it is a parent-child relationship. Yes, and very dualistic in that sense. But nevertheless, you will not fall. You may stumble, but you will not fall.
That's a good one. You may stumble, but you may not fall. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
and we almost always do stumble. Hardly a day goes by that there isn't this sense of having stumbled on over something.
I think that is, Shankaraji, that is also very important because the three levels of Hanuman is very, very important because we can never stay at, as long as we are embodied in this body and mind and intellect, there is no way we can stay at that highest level of non-dual all the time. That is
Right.
why we have to understand those three levels what Hanuman gave us. So we will move back and forth.
Yes, and it's exactly why Sri Ramakrishna said, even the most skilled and successful singer cannot keep her voice always on the highest note. And by this he meant you return to your more or less ordinary frame of reference and consciousness. Because if you tried to keep your voice always on that highest note, you would destroy your voice and your nervous system. Any trained singer will tell you there's just you're the highest note you can reach. You can only sustain it for a short period. So you're absolutely right, Balakrishna. Absolutely right. Anything else from anyone? Is there anything that has been said or read that still needs some clarification as far as you're concerned. Anything at all that we've gone through, because these are not simple ideas. So if you're trying to build a foundation of understanding of these ideas, there must not be anything shaky in that foundation.
Hi, Shankara, it's Jillian.
Yes, Jim.
Hi. So my question kind of follows on to what Cindy was saying about your description of a relationship with Holy Mother as non-dual. So that is sort of puzzling to me too, because the way you described it, you were saying, you know, whatever the mother asks me to do or requires me to do, I will do willingly. But that is all still putting you on a different level from Holy Mother. So to say you're one, there is still that difference of you are obeying or following or being guided by Holy Mother. So then there is a dualistic component to that.
Well, yes, but we have to recognize what it says in the Chandi, that Mother herself is volition. So there is no volition apart from the Mother. So this is, you put your finger right on it, Jillian. This is, how can I be how can I be a separate human being, a separate embodied being, and at the same time be one with the Mother? Well, you can only do that in your heart. You can't do it. Quite literally, you can't do it. Though there are stories of saints who have merged with the One, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is said to have done that. There's a statue in, I forget the name of the town now, but it's said that the reason he simply disappeared is that he merged with that statue. So nothing is impossible for the divine, because they're the ones that make everything possible and impossible. And once again in the Chandi it says, speaking to Durga, you are the all-pervading Devi who constantly presides over the senses of all beings and governs all the elements. Well, now that covers it all for omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. So if the Mother is indeed omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, there is nothing else. That's all that exists. And yet, is that the way it seems to us as we sit here? No.
But
Go ahead.
But it perhaps can become evident for us, if only for a second, in deep meditation. And that seems to be the place where practice of non-dualism can kind of become a reality.
Yes.
You don't hang on to it for more than a second.
Well, in the beginning, then it begins to be a reality more and more often for longer and longer periods. And this is why you will hear the saints that speak in such books as Love Poems from God, talking about how they felt themselves unworthy to be absorbed in this way for so long. And finally, the divine being in the form of either father or mother, usually father, though not because they come from different traditions, not exclusively. But the Father God says, oh, to hell with it, just come to my arms, be absorbed in me. Saint Teresa of Avila speaks of this. So nothing is impossible for the divine, and each one of us is destined to be a saint. But we're about to take up the book, Christ the Messenger, in our book study group on Saturday for Divine Grace. That book we're just about finished. In another 2 weeks or so, we'll be finished. And we'll take up Christ the Messenger, which is a talk that Swami Vivekananda gave in Pasadena in January of 1900. And in that talk, he makes the case that each one of us, each and every one of us, is destined to manifest that Christ consciousness. In other words, to become a Christ. You know, the Buddhist would say to manifest your Buddha nature. So this is a remarkable point of view that he describes, but he's absolutely unequivocal about it. It is your destiny.
Brother Shankara,
Because you're not your own person. Yeah, go ahead.
this is John.
Yeah, John.
As I've listened today, at least in my own experience, it's been that it's an identification with what I am as a mind, body, or a spirit. And it begins, I guess, in my own spiritual path with a dualistic seeking for that enlightenment or God or whatever words you want to use. And it's sort as a dualistic calling, I guess, if you will, whether it be in Christianity or Hindu or Buddhism or whatever road that is, it's a dualistic intellectual study.
Mhm.
And as I have progressed on that intellectual study, I start to understand of all of what we talked about today is this one union, and that you're one with God and so forth and so on, as it's been described in many ways. It became very difficult to understand that until there's a shift that occurs. Or a shift would occur in me where that union becomes experiential rather than intellectual. And until that happens,
Hold on just a minute, John. Somebody's got their mic open. We're hearing muttering and whispering in the background. So please, whoever it is that has their mic open, please don't interrupt John. Okay, John, please go ahead.
so I was saying that shift in identification with what I am as not being a body mind occurs. And once that happens, it's very clear to see that all roads, all religion is pointing to the same subjective reality. But without that shift, if you will, I would continue, or I had to continue to follow whatever spiritual dualistic path I had been on. And all of them point to that same reality of a subjective awareness.
Yep.
Or an experience of God rather than an intellectual dualistic study.
Mhm.
And once that occurs, becomes very clear.
Yes. And as Ramana Maharshi would ask you, who made that shift? who is it that made that shift?
Well, and I think I might add that that's a step that I can't take as John Gano. The step that's a gift
If you say so, John,
in my case.
who would want to quarrel with you? But Ramana Maharshi would just gently say, perhaps think about it again and answer the question. If the shift were to be made, who would make it? Who am I? Who am I really? The greatest gift you can give the world, he said, is to find out who you truly are.
I think that's the point of where I started speaking was it's identification with what I am.
Mhm. But we're helpless to do otherwise, aren't we? So until something shifts, and that's why it's said in the Chandi, Mother herself is volition. Mother herself is memory. Mother herself is activity. Mother herself is compassion. All these things that we think of are the attributes that we wear. No, they are attributes that the mother wears. We don't remember anything, she remembers it. We are not compassionate, she is compassionate. We are not active, she is active. It's very instructive to read the Chandi.
Hariom Shankaraji, can I say a word?
Please, please.
No, what John said is, 100%, right in the sense, actually, it is the Atma, decides who he's going to show off. And this is what we have been reading in that, the divine grace also.
Yes.
Number one. And number two, in the Vedanta Sara, it does say that even when you go into that samadhi state, still there is a vritti, that is the change in the mind complex. But at one stage, you get that Brahmakara vritti. Once you get that Brahmakara vritti, there is no way to express how it shows up. And this is where our Upanishads say, once you get to that state, you will never come back into this state. In other words, there is a complete transformation.
Indeed. But who is the transformer and who is transforming?
It's all one.
Yes, precisely. So this is where we keep coming back like a dog chasing its tail to this idea that there is nothing but the one. I and my father, or I and my mother, are one. And yet it does not seem to be so from moment to moment. This is, as Vivekananda said, this is Maya. This is what is meant by Maya. It is deliberately delusive and creates an endless noise in the mind, this chatterbox mind that is distracting and is meant to do so. As Sri Ramakrishna says, mother in this sense is capricious and drunk on the wine of spiritual experience, and so seems to be neglectful of the welfare of her children in those moments. Once again, incomprehensible to us. How could it be so? Anything else from anyone?
Hey, Shankara, it's Tom. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Very good. So, thinking about all this and listening to this, I realized for some time, my spiritual path has been centered around the idea of keep it simple. And if all else fails, follow the directions. And the directions I was given, you know, well, basic ethical behavior to try to be kind and loving and on a higher level to see God in everybody and kind of worship and love everybody. But for so far as the meditation and the spiritual practice is very simple. Just sit down, follow your breath or your mantra or whatever it is that you're following. Sit down, follow your breath. When your mind wanders, which it always will, bring it back to your breath. Follow your breath. Various things happen. You notice thoughts arise and pass away, feelings arise and pass away, joy, sorrow arises and pass away. Your mind wanders, you get lost in thought, you bring it back to your breath. That's it. And why that works, I don't understand, but it does. Just like I don't understand how my heart beats, but it does. Or I don't understand how most things work, but they work. And this works. It's very simple. They did not tell me try to figure out whether you're dual or non-dual. Try to figure some of this stuff. I really believe we get lost in language because it can't be put into language. For me to say either that I am dual or that I am non-dual, neither one of those really work exactly. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. And I wanted to hear myself talk here. We got a big room full of people and it's great. And I feel really happy to be back at the center with everybody. And happy to see you and happy this Zoom thing is working. So thank you.
Excellent. Me too. And notice that I did not say you are non-dual, though that observation is an auspicious one if one buys into it. But the title of the talk was Christianity as a non-dual spiritual path. And so it has its instructions and its methodology. As I said, there are a group of monks, particularly on Mount Athos, that pursue the via negativa. And they're very withdrawn. They participate in only the most minimal work of the monastery, cooking, cleaning, etc. But they don't have any social life. They're very different kinds of beings. So I think we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah. 1 minute. That's it. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone before we close?
It is really wonderful, sir. Shankaraji here. We are almost close to 15 people, or maybe a little over 15.
18.
Oh, 18.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's a very auspicious number.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, 18 is wonderful number.
8 plus 1 is 9.
3 times 6.
No, Bhagavad Gita goes there. 18 chapters. 18 days of war. All those
I
things.
can add to it, brother. The energy in this room is phenomenal. I can tell you that.
Very good.
You can only feel it.
I'm very glad. Very glad.
Brother Shankara, I have two of my friends came today, first time. So they just had a this exposure.
Nice. Well, I got my daughter with me, so. And it is down in too. Yes.
All right, dears. Well, a Merry Christmas Eve to you. A Merry Christmas tomorrow. May this holiday season bring you all the joys that it makes available. And may we all be well and in bright spirits. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward acknowledging that the Mother, Father, Divine Being that is introduced to us at the beginning of these sessions in our opening prayer, that Divine Being indeed does have us in his thoughts, Father, Mother, Mother, Father, and is holding us there in a loving and protective way. So may we be well and in bright spirits as it is wished, as it is their volition. So as
Brother Shankara,
yes,
take a nap because people are coming after 2:30.
okay, I'm looking forward to seeing.
Just wanted to warn you. We're
Well,
coming.
I'm glad you did.
Okay.
All right, dears. Well, I'll see you then.
Okay. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma Di. Jai Ma, however we live with it.
Yeah.